Okay, hello, fifth grade. We are back again. So we're going to continue our chapter 7 review. We're on page 352. So I had given you guys the choice, like I said, if you want to do both videos all on Tuesday, you can, or you can break it apart because it's a lot of math. I understand that. So if you need to step away and take a break, I completely understand. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue where we left off here. Number 10. And this is going to be an area model, and you may be looking at this going, wait a minute, what is this? That doesn't look familiar to me at all. Let me show you, and you're going to go, oh, I get it now. If I'm doing a problem, no, this has nothing to do with this problem at all. If I'm doing 23 times 14, this might look familiar to you. And I'm not going to solve this problem. I'm just going to show it to you. 20 and 3, 10 and 4. Hopefully that looks familiar to you guys. That's an area model. That's when we break it apart based on our place value. So that's when we would multiply 10 times 20 and get the answer here. And then 4 times 20 and get the answer here. 10 times 3, get the answer here. 4 times 3, get the answer here. And then add them all up to get my answer. So this is similar to what we're going to be doing here. It looks real confusing here, but don't worry, you'll be able to get it. Okay, Caleb's family room has the dimensions shown. He needs to find the area of the room so that he knows how much carpet to buy. Complete the area model below to find the area of the family room. So I've got it here. They already gave me the dimensions, and they just want you to stretch it out here. You could also just multiply 5/4 times 3 7/8, because if you remember, to find area, it's length times width. But for the sake of what they want us to do in the book, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, and you can have the 5 1/4, you can either have it here or here. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do mine up here. So I'm going to say that this is 5 1/4. See how I broke it apart? Okay, this right here shows me 5, and this little tiny little sliver right here, that's 1/4. Okay, my other dimension is 3 7/8. So here's 3 7/8. Okay, what we're going to do here, this is the easy part, because all I'm going to do is multiply 3 times 5. And you're going to get 15. Okay. Right here, they want you to they're asking you what would be the multiplication problem in order to find out what that little tiny bit is worth. And you're going to do 3 times 1/4. Okay, and you're going to get, this one's pretty easy, 3/4. Okay, this one right here is how am I going to get whatever answer or whatever dimension this is, and that's going to be 5 times 7/8, or 7/8 times 5, either way. And that's pretty simple to do too. So doing that, you're going to, and you may have to do some scratch work off to the side. It's going to be 35/8, but then I'm going to change that to 4 3/8. And again, if I'm going too fast, please pause the video, okay? I'm sometimes running out of storage on my iPad. That's why I'm trying to make the videos as quick as I can. Okay, and in order to figure out what goes in this little teeny tiny bit right here, it is 7/8 times 1/4. And you should get 7/32. So this is where the work comes in, where you need to add all of these up. So you're going to be adding everything that you have. You're going to be adding what's inside here. And you're going to be, you know what, let me go ahead and circle because it looks kind of messy. You're going to add this, and this, and this, and finally this, to get the entire dimensions. Okay, so in order to do all of that, I am going to use my whiteboard. I need to add 15. Let me scooch this up just a little bit. 15, and I need to add, and you can put it in any order you want. And 3/4 and 7/32. Notice how I line these up. I lined up all my fractions, okay? And there's a reason for that. Now we're adding. Hopefully you guys remember how to do that. This whole time in this chapter, we've been multiplying. Now we're adding. Go back to what we did in the past. I cannot add these fractions because the denominators are not the same. I need to find a common denominator. Luckily, I can see one real quick. If you look at the biggest denominator you have, 32, is 4 a factor of 32? Yes, it is. Is 8 a factor of 32? Yes, it is. So I can use 32 as my common denominator. And this should be coming back to you. I'm going to be changing these fractions to where 32 is a common denominator. Now, this one right here, it doesn't change. It stays the same. Remember this, 4 times something equals 32. Hopefully that's coming back to you. And it's 4 times 8 is 32. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. 3 times 8 is 24. And 8 times what is 32? 8 times 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. And again, if I'm going too fast, pause the video, okay? I'm not even looking at my whole numbers yet. Okay, I'm looking just at my fractions. The denominator stays the same. Remember, when you're adding and subtracting, you don't add the denominators, but you do add the numerators. Now, when I go through and add up all my numerators, I'm going to get 43. Can't leave it like that. You guys know the drill. You've got to do some division to get rid of that. So I'm going to do 32 divided into 43. Now remember, I haven't even looked at my whole numbers yet, but I don't forget those in the long run, okay? All right, so 32 goes into 43 one time. 3 take away 2 is 1. 4 take away 3 is 1. So my answer just for this part is 1 and 11 over 32. But hang on, don't forget, you have whole numbers over here. So if I add 15 plus 4, I get 19. 19 plus this whole guy over here, your answer is going to be 20 and 11 over 32. That was a really long way of trying to figure out the answer to that problem. Again, if you just multiplied 5 1/4 times 3 7/8, you should have gotten the same answer. They just want you to see this visually. In case you get stuck and you want to do an area model, they just want you to use that method if that works for you. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is the one similar to the one we did on the other video about the science fair projects. Doreen lives 3/4 miles from the library. Shelley lives 1/3 as far away from the library as Doreen. So for numbers 11A through C, choose yes or no to answer the correct questions. Okay, so we know that Doreen is 3/4 miles from the library. Let's figure out what Sheila is. See, this should be coming back to you. That one problem that we did with the science fair is 1/3 times 3/4. And remember, you can have these numbers mixed, swap places because of the commutative property. Okay, I am going to do some cross-reducing here. And I end up with 1/4 for Sheila. Let's answer our questions. Does Doreen live farther from the library than Sheila? So Doreen lives 3/4 of a mile farther. Sheila only lives 1/4. So yes, she does live farther. Does Sheila live 1/4 mile from the library? Yep, she sure does. We just figured that out. 11C, does Sheila live twice as far from the library than Doreen? So if I were to add up 1/4 plus 1/4, I would get 2/4, which is equivalent to 1/2. That is 1/2 is not twice as far as 3/4. So your answer is no. Okay, 12. Taniqua took a test that had 20 multiple choice questions and 10 true-false questions. She got 9/10 of the multiple choice questions correct and she got 4/5 of the true-false questions correct. 12A, how many multiple choice questions did Taniqua get correct? So we know she had a total of 20, and I want to multiply that by 9/10 because she got 9/10 of them correct. Cross reduce. So she got 18 out of the 20 correct. Let's look at the true-false questions. She had 10 questions, and she got 4/5 of them correct. So she got 8 out of the 10 questions correct. Okay, here's my next page. I'm on page 353. The table shows how many hours some of the part-time employees at the toy store worked last week. So take a minute to look at the table. We've got Conrad, Giovanna, and Sally. This week, Conrad will work 1/3 times as long as last week. Giovanna will work 1 1/3 times as long as last week. Sally will work 2/3 the number of hours she worked last week. Match each employee's name to the number of hours he or she worked or will work this week. Okay, so I'm going to look at just the very first one. And let's look at Conrad. Conrad, 1 3/4 times as long. So last week, Conrad worked 6 2/3. And I want to multiply that by 1 3/4. This is one of those ones that you might want to do on a piece of scratch paper, unless you can squeeze it all in. You do have a little bit of room here. Okay, so remember, I'm just figuring out Conrad first. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 more is 20. So 20/3 times 4, 7/4. Cross reduce. 7 times 5 is 35/3 equals 11 2/3. So Conrad is going to match up with 11 2/3. Okay, honor system here. I would like you to figure out the other two, Giovanna and Sally. Pause the video, and then when you come back, we will check your answers. Okay, we're back. Giovanna worked 12 2/3 this week, or that she will work. So then Sally obviously is 7 1/7. Okay, this one is a little tricky because that grid is so tiny and I don't know if I can make it much bigger. I'm going to try. Okay, let's read the problem. Peggy is making a quilt using panels that are 1 foot by 1 foot. The quilt is 5.5 feet long and 4 feet wide. Okay, we're actually going to do B first, and then we'll come back and do A with the grid, because B is going to help us figure it out. So I want to figure out what the area of the quilt is. So remember, area is length times width. So they gave me the dimensions, 5.5 times 4. 10/2 times 4. And the dimensions are going to be, oh, wait a minute, did I do that right? 5.5 times 4. Oh, I did that wrong. I'm so sorry. It's supposed to be 11/2. My bad. 5.5 times 4. 11/2. There we go. Now we got it. 1, 2. And you might want to put a little 2 there. Whenever you're talking about area, it's always going to be square foot or foot squared. So I know that the area is going to be 22 feet squared. That goes here. Oh, they already put the feet there, so you don't have to put the F. Okay. This is what they want us to do here. Each of these little tiny boxes, or each of the spots on the grid, are 1 foot by 1 foot. I need to shade in how many will be for 22 feet squared. Now, my answer down here is going to help me out here, because I know that one side is 5.5 feet. Now remember, each one of these little tiny boxes is going to be 1/2 foot. So if I combine this one and this one, say I want to do this side, it's going to be 5.5 over here. And this is going to be, I don't know if I can squeeze it up here, 4. So I need this grid to show 5.5. If this is 1/2 and this is 1/2, that's 1. So that takes care of 1 foot. Hopefully this makes sense. I'm trying to get to 5.5. So there's 1 foot because I have 1/2 and 1/2. 2 more halves get me at 2 feet. 2 more halves get me at 3 feet. 2 more halves get me at 4 feet. And 2 more halves get me at, oh, I'm going to have to do the grid the other way around. Oh, I just noticed that. I am so sorry. Sorry about that, guys. So this has to be 4.5. And this has to, 5.5. And this has to be 4. I am so sorry. Okay, let's try that again. Each one of these is 1/2. I need this to equal 5.5. That's 1 foot. 2 feet. 3 feet. 4 feet. 5 feet. And then just 1 more to be 5.5. What they want you to do is figure out how many of these little grids did you end up having to shade in order to equal 5.5. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You need 11 of those grids going sideways. Now going this way, you need 4 feet. So 1, 2, that's 1 foot, because remember each one is 1/2. So that's 1, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. Well, let's see how many I had to shade in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it should be 8 here and 11 here. Now this can be anywhere on your grid. I just happen to use the corner here. So in order to shade that in, you're going to want to go over this way. And you don't have to put boxes in all of them. You know that your grid is going to look something like this. Okay? That one's a little confusing. So hopefully you guys understood that each of the little boxes is 1/2. Okay, next page. Almost done, guys. Page 354. 15. Ruby conducted a survey and found that 5/6 of her classmates have a pet. Oops, I guess it might help if you guys can see it. Have a pet. And 2/3 of those pets are dogs. What fraction of her classmates has dogs? Write a number from the number tiles in each box to complete the calculation shown below. So I've got 5/6 times 2/3. They want you to stretch it out. Basically what they want you to do is figure out how many of the kids have dogs as their pet. So don't overthink it. 5/6, you want to multiply that by 2/3. Let's multiply across. 5 times 2 is 10. All they're doing is stretching it out here. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, and I do have those tiles here, so I'm good. Now, what do you guys think they're going to want here? I have 10 over 18. I think they're going to want you to simplify that. So if I simplify that by 2, remember you divide 10 by 2 and 18 by 2, you should get 5 over 9. And so 5/9 of the kids of her classmates have dogs. Okay. And 16, we are not going to do B, but we are going to do A and C. Robbie is using the recipe below to make chicken noodle soup. He plans to make 6 batches of soup. He has 2/3 teaspoon of black pepper. Part A says, write an expression that Robbie can use to determine how much black pepper is needed for 6 batches. Okay, so I know he wants to make 6 batches of this. This is only for 1 batch. So let's look at my teaspoons of pepper. He needs 1/8. So for every batch that he makes, he needs 1/8. So that is my expression. Okay. Now, if you notice, it says expression. They don't want you to solve it. C. C is a multi-step question here. Remember, we're not going to do B. Does Robbie have enough black pepper for 6 batches of the soup? Explain your reasoning. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how much he needs for the soup for 6 batches. So that's where this comes into play. I'm going to rewrite this, and don't write too big because you're going to need some room. Okay. Cross-reducing here. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So this is what he needs. He needs 3/4 teaspoon. That's what he needs. We have to go back up here. He has 2/3 teaspoons of black pepper. We got to figure out if that's enough for this. So I need to compare 3/4 and 2/3. Remember, this is what he needs. This is what he has. Hopefully you remember this. We've got 4 and 3. I cannot compare them based on the way they look right now. I need to find a common denominator. My common denominator is going to be 12. You could have various common denominators. I just use the least one possible. Okay, 3 times what gets you 12? I'm sorry, 4 times what gets you 12? That's 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I can compare. He needs 9/12. He has 8/12. Okay, this is greater than what he has. His need is bigger than what he has. So no, he does not have enough. Has, you could say 8/12 teaspoon. Or you can just say no, he doesn't have enough. Okay, that is it. That was our last question. So again, it is up to you guys if you want to do the video all at one time. It's a lot of work though, so feel free to take a break and break it up into 2 days if you'd rather, okay? So I will you guys already have a hard copy of your test. So it's up to you if you want to take the test on Wednesday or if you want to take it on Thursday. It's up to you. I'm going to have it not due until Friday. And if you can submit that by having mom or dad take a picture and send it on the Remind, or you can also email it to me if you scan it. And we're still going to keep trying with this Google Classroom and see if we can get it to work. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. So it's a little temperamental. So we'll see how it goes. And anyway, if you guys have any questions or anything that I can do for you, let me know. And let's go ahead and finish off our second session here today. Sacred Heart of Jesus, pray for us. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.